It's one small step for man.
Out for the
episode. We're discussing the house that Affirmations built. Yes, we're talking about positive self-talk and affirmations. There's a common myth about like positive thinking, like true psychological resilience. Is it about participation trophies, ignoring problems, or pretending everything is fine when it's clearly not? Struggle, difficulty, failure are essential. Just like we only appreciate a sunny day because we've experienced storms, achievement only feels meaningful because we face setbacks. The problem arises in how we talk about that to ourselves during those hard moments. When you kind of shift your language from I'm failing at this to I'm struggling with part of my job right now, something fundamental changes. I suck at this turns a challenge into a permanent identity. I'm struggling right now acknowledges a real situation without defining who you are. And I had to actually go through like working with this in therapy and reframing. I use that word a lot in my life. I reframe, or I'm working on reframing this. And I do it like it becomes a part of like your mind and your thought process. So like, God, this day is awful. And then I say, no, it's not awful. It's just having to go do this right now is awful, but I only have to do this for this set amount of time and then it'll be over. So it's not the whole day that's awful. It's just me having to go do this thing is awful. I try to base a lot of it is basing it in fact and factualizing it. Is factualizing a word? I feel like it should be if it isn't. It's a really good word. It was really easy. It rolled off the tongue. Anyway, but the same, situations like that can be used as well for, just shifting your language, shifting your thought process and how you do things. And the thing we forget is that the brain is always listening. So why does this matter so much for our mental health? Because our brain is constantly listening to our self-talk and it reacts accordingly. It doesn't matter if it's right or it's wrong. It doesn't matter if it's real or it's fake. Your brain acknowledges it, period. And I think that the better we understand that, the better we can navigate. So when you face those kind of situations and stuff like that, the amygdala in your brain sends an internal alarm system that activates. And this is how it kind of works when your brain perceives a threat. Attention narrows, you're hyper-focused on protection rather than possibility. Reactivity increases, defensive thinking rises, making you irritable, anxious, or closed off. Cognitive capacity shrinks. It becomes harder to solve problems creatively or hear feedback objectively. That I totally agree with. A large majority of like when I first started my job up until like kind of like the last 2-3 months, I navigated not knowing something and thinking that people would think I was stupid with fear. And that fear would cause me anxiety, and that anxiety would cause me to not be able to fully express or properly express my issue of needing assistance. And I've gotten really like a lot better with that by writing it down first and then being able to fully express what I'm saying. And then also when I do express what I'm saying, being open to the feedback of if someone doesn't understand or if someone thinks that they're understanding what I'm saying, telling them, no, that's not what I mean. Incorrect. Or correct. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. And, I think that's just having comfortability and building rapport with my coworkers and stuff and the people in the capacity with which I work. But yeah, so like understanding that. Like I have a friend who says, you know what I mean? And I brought it to his attention that he says it after everything he says. And I said, no, I don't. I said, I'm so tired of hearing you say that because I don't know what you mean, and you're just saying it. It's a sentence filler. It's just something you say because you're not being intentional about what you're saying. And so now, like yesterday, I was talking to him. He's like, he realized, he started to realize how, I brought it to the attention, he started to realize how much he says it because he'd be like, you know what, you don't know what I'm saying. I'm sorry, I can't. Like, exactly. Because it's like, we get into the point of just saying things and words mean things. And like in therapy, my therapist drilled that into me Words mean things. Words mean things. And words to me do mean things. So when people are saying things to me, I want to make sure that they understand that what they're saying is being received and being understood by me. Now, whatever the heck you do with what I'm saying, I don't really give a shit because I said it regardless. Either way, neuroscientist Barbara Fredrickson's broaden and build theory demonstrates that positive emotional states actually widen our cognitive capacity. When we engage in supportive self-talk, we open up neural pathways associated with creativity, adaptability, and emotional regulation. So I called my best friend yesterday because I wanted to hear her voice, honestly, and I was driving and she was working on her job, stuff for her job as well. And, my godson was in the background and stuff. And it's just, after I got off the call with her, because we talked for like an hour, and we weren't talking about, we talked about certain things of substance and depth, but we also just talked about life and, what's going on and just joking and having fun. And I remember getting off the phone with her and being like, God, I feel so fulfilled and enriched after that. So when we talk about, especially in this specific thing, emotional regulation and the fulfillment and enrichment, that's why I have the friends that I do and the relationships I have with people, because it is about enriching, and understanding and navigating that relationship with the understanding that it is an exchange. It's not monetary, but you do, have to compromise in all relationships, not just romantic ones or whatever, but all relationships require a certain level of compromise, understanding, and they all provide you. They should all provide you with some level of enrichment. So yeah, but the ripple effect on others when you're in a position of leadership, whether managing a team, guiding a family, or working in a group, your emotional climate impacts everyone around you because emotions are contagious. So when a leader operates continuously from panic, cynicism, or catastrophizing, they're triggering threat responses in other people around them. This effectively shrinks the thinking capacity of their entire team. And I really do relate to that, because I'm one of those people where I can go into a place and all the energy's off. I already know how I got to move in here. And not a lot of people do that. Other people don't believe in that. Other people can't feel it either. And so I'm just I got to know how I got to navigate, in this situation. So on the flip side, when a leader practices self-encouragement and remains grounded, they create an environment of psychological safety. People feel safe enough to think clearly, contribute ideas, and handle challenges without freezing up. The environment you create for others always starts with the environment you create within yourself. So putting this into practice, you got to catch the absolute statements. Like I said, this is a bad day. That situation. It's not. It's just a bad moment. And I have to be in this moment for a limited amount of time. And you just basically start truthing it. You have to find the truth and the facts in it, instead of saying that vague statement, which is really easy to flip and say, honestly. So you separate challenge from identity, reframe your thought to describe the temporary circumstances, exactly just like what I said. This specific task is difficult for me right now. You look for evidence of growth. Ask yourself, have I improved compared to a year ago? Have I handled anything well recently? That's another thing. I think I made this comment. I said, what wins did you have? I said to one of my coworkers, what wins did you have today? So and so. He's like, I didn't have any wins. I said, no, you had the win where you helped me with this and da-da-da-da. And it may be juvenile to some, and I understand some of my, the way I am and my quirkiness and my childlikeness, and is very can be childish, but it's also somewhat something we leave behind as kids, is that, celebrating the smallest of things is looked over when you're an adult. I do look for the wins I had today. I do not it's not competitive or aggressive or overly done, but I do look what wins did I have today? Well, oh man, that was a big win for me, figuring this out and doing this and da-da-da. It's things like that. It's really, really important to look for growth in your life, period. And then the last one, protect your Thinking capacity: when you feel your brain narrowing into threat mode, pause and offer yourself the same encouragement you would give a friend. Exactly. I think we talk to ourselves like crap, and we never talk to our friends like that. And if someone did talk to our friends like that, we'd be on their ass. Anyway, it's not about, positive self-talk and affirmation. It's not about denying reality or pretending hardships don't exist. It's kind of more about like being honest with yourself, you know, with the reality in a situation you're in, but also refusing to let the constant stream of negativity narrate and dictate your worth in that situation. So I think we all could like really grow and gain something from being able to slow our minds down and our judgments down. Like that's the thing too. I was raised to be less judgmental in my family and accepting of all kinds of people. And I think that helps me so much navigate through life, because I'm able to be like, I did think that, but I can also see how you would think that as well. And I love to learn, and I'm very curious, and I like to learn things from other people as well. And I think when we judge people, we shut down our ability to learn and be receptive, and I don't like to do that. So yeah, moving on to what I'm happy and grateful for. I'm happy and grateful for the pumpkin candles that I bought, because it's fall season, y'all. And if you've been following this podcast for a while, every year I talk about these cinnamon brooms at Publix that they gonna get, and I can't wait to go up in there and get me some, because then my whole house will be smelling like cinnamon. I might get 3 this time, because I need it to be overwhelming. Last year it wasn't overwhelming enough for me. I need it to be overwhelming in here. So yeah. I'm happy about that. But before I go, oh wait, I almost forgot to do the quote. Hold on, I got one. I got another one. Hold on. Every version of you is necessary, even the ones you are ashamed of. And I think that it's really, I was thinking about this, and I think about it sometimes, well, often, how I'm thankful for where I'm at, but I know to get to where I'm at right now, bad things or things that were traumatic and sad had to happen. But I wouldn't be who I am and where I am now without those life experiences. So I think there's this guy, I think Anderson Cooper was interviewing him, and he had like the CBS show or whatever, and he said, what is pain, or what are bad things if not God's gifts, or something like that. And I was like, I'm not really like all up in that, but I do understand what he meant by that. Is like the good and the bad, not the good or the bad. It's all of it. And so the version of me who is broken is just as necessary as the version of me who is healed, is just as necessary as the version of me who is half healed. The version of me who was sad, the version of me who was felt worthless. Those versions of me were all necessary. Even the ones that I felt shame in. And I think that's really important to know. But before I go, be sure to check out the show notes. Also check out my books on Amazon titled Poems to Cry to in the Dark and Love Letters Ever Sent to Myself, and leave a 5-star rating. Other than that, I don't have anything else. I'm glad you're still here, and I hope you have the day you deserve. Bye.